Hello, story seekers. We are still here with the amazing Alexandra Beaumont. Hello, and being still with us, Alex, how are you?
Hi, yeah, I am good, thank you. On my second cup of tea and I'm ready to go.
That is
Nice.
powerful stuff. Well, seeing as you're on your second tea, we might as well start pumping you while you're caffeined up. Who inspired you to start telling your own stories?
Oh, good question. I had a crazy English teacher called Mrs. Farrell, and this is at secondary school, and this sounds like a bit of a fever dream, but bear with me. Um, so my secondary school was in a old World War I hospital that had then been repurposed into a school, as you do, and she would. I'm pretty sure she must have taught us stuff too, maybe, but she would tell ghost stories during our English lessons. And then uh, she would tell ghost stories about the fact that we were in an ex-hospital, including about like the ghosts of the soldiers that lived in the hospital and things like that. Um, so yeah, I spent a lot of time at school like thinking about this and then running if I was going between classes on my own, I'd be running between the classes sure that I could see that the ghosts were going to come. So I think a combination of like having had a very vivid imagination from a young age and various psychedelic weird things like that going on. And my mum used to tell ghost stories as well. So I'm blaming everyone who's told me ghost stories over my life.
It sounds a bit like you grew up in a Guillermo del Toro film, to be honest.
Yeah. Now I'm saying it out loud, it sounds quite, like, horrifying.
And of
Have
course, I
you
was haunted from a young age.
very fertile ground for an imagination to flourish as well. Have you written ghost stories at all in your professional writing career?
So I would say that my books, because they're folklore fantasy with a bit of folk horror, like, mixed in, they are inherently a bit ghosty. There's quite, like, ghost-like elements that creep into it. The main thing I've written that's definitely a ghost story is, I had a story in a podcast called Ghost Law, which was produced by the Alternative Stories and Fake Realities podcast about ghosts that live in trees. And that was directly a ghost story. I think I need to do some more.
Oh, it's fascinating. Yeah, I don't know whether that teacher's still around, but would that be kind of validating to go and like show them a ghost story that you'd written after all these years? Would that be?
Yeah, I think she would like that. I don't think she is still around, but then she told ghost stories, so who can say?
Oh, rest in peace then, because that's I love a good teacher story because so many people have stories about how a particular tutor just smashed their willingness to learn a particular thing.
Mhm.
So it's really nice when you encounter one where it's like, no, this person gave me a love of storytelling, or
Yeah.
whatever else it might be. Really nice. Just on that, do you feel particularly connected to any subcultures or cultures? And if so, have they shaped your writing?
Yeah, so Dissonance of Birdsong and Ballad of Riverbones, my books in the Mist Cycle series, are set in ancient Cornwall. The reason for that is because my mum grew up in Cornwall. She wasn't born there, but she'd spent quite a lot of her childhood living on Bodmin Moor, another
Yeah.
place where there's loads of ghost stories. And so she used to tell me some of the ghost stories she used to tell me were Cornish ghost stories, like ghosts in mines, ghosts on the moors, that kind of thing. So when I wrote this series, I wanted to very much go and like relive that atmosphere that I felt like I grew up with
Yeah.
and the stories that she used to tell me. So yeah, for that reason really, ancient Cornwall sort of Cornwall is somewhere that's quite special to me. Yeah,
Are you a Cornwall or Carnot person when you're talking about it?
Canal. Yeah,
Carnot.
definitely
Yeah.
definitely Canal. Just because I really like the old language. But then I think a lot of people don't actually know what you mean when you say that. So for
Yeah.
ease, I often end up talking about Cornwall. But yeah, if I could by choice, I'd be calling it Canal.
Have you ever tried to learn it at all? I don't, because I know in Wales, obviously, they had this big kick to make sure that people were learning and keeping the language alive and stuff. But I'm aware that that didn't really happen in Cornwall, probably because English authorities were kind of stopping it. Have you ever tried to learn it or done anything like that?
Yeah, so I've learnt some words partly to help writing dissonance of birdsong. There's a glossary at the back of the names, which are Cornish names and Cornish words, and they use Cornish words within the book as well. And then some that I've taken like hybrids of different words and put them together to be something else. Because I'm not born in Cornwall and because I'm not Cornish, but my mum grew up there, and I haven't been exposed a lot to the language, so
Yeah.
I haven't had that opportunity to do it. But I think there's quite a drive now, I think, for people like still using the Cornish language in Cornwall, Kernow now.
I think that's wicked. Language diversity for everyone, as far as I'm concerned. Is it on Duolingo? That's the real question.
I haven't checked that. That would be
Submit
interesting.
yourself to the owl. Yeah.
Elvish and Klingon are, so if Cornish
Mm,
isn't, something's gone horribly wrong.
that is true.
Fundamentally, the more languages that we have available to speak and that are actively spoken means that there are more ways that people are thinking, because they're sort of ways to
Mm,
construct your own reality, aren't they? Languages
Yeah.
and construct a shared reality. So yeah, I've always had tremendous respect for people that can learn languages. I am shite at it. I've tried multiple times. It just doesn't go in. But it's a really wonderful skill, especially when you encounter such an interesting and potentially struggling language like that.
mm.
To try and bring it back alive is wicked, very worthy.
Yeah,
Am I right in thinking that you also do a bit of LARP as well?
I am a big LARPer fan.
Yeah.
Yeah, I've done that
Hey.
for over 20 years. Yeah. So yeah, I play two main systems really. One is high fantasy. Um, in fact, they're both probably high fantasy really. But the one that I've done longest is called the Lorien Trust, and that's the character I play in that is kind of like a muddy ranger. She's a total goofball. She's just all my like slightly quirky idiosyncrasies taken up to the max. Yeah, and then we play a new system called Menir's Fate as well, which in that I play like a witch, a forge witch type character. Yeah, those are the two main systems, and I've also done some horror games and things like that as well. So yeah,
Um,
quite a varied one. Have you LARPed?
I'm sorry to do this to you now, Ben, but there's
No, no.
been loads of talk about Minear's fate, isn't there? I heard really good things because this
Yeah.
year was the first year, wasn't it? So I
Yes.
think I may be giving it a go next year. Minear's
Oh
fate.
yeah, do go. Do you know what nation you're going to play? Sorry, this is going to tangent into a LARP conversation, but
Hey,
I'm cool with
that
that.
is okay. I knew what I was doing
That
when I
is
brought it up.
yeah. Do you know what
No,
nation you're going to play?
I haven't made any decisions.
Okay,
Am I
we
about to
might need to
get
talk.
co-opted?
I'll tell you that Hammerstadt is really good. That's all I'll say.
All right, deal.
It's really good. It's kind of somewhere between, I don't know, there's bits of it that are Terry Pratchett, but there's also bits of it that
Sold.
are quite yeah, right. But it's also quite like sort of Civil War, like English Civil War plus magic. Warhammer fantasy role playing. There we go. That's
You
a good
can.
example of it. So I think
You
like
already had me.
yeah. So I think if you like Woofrup, you'll like Hammerstadt. It's very
Yeah,
good.
that. Yeah, I'll come and join the human empire. That's fine. That's fine by me. You can call me Felix
Mhm.
Jaeger, and that's going to be the rest of my life. Hooray!
Yeah, you will get absolutely hooked on it. It's great. Yeah, we have gone big in for the fancy slash sleeves and poncy hats.
Oh yes.
Delightful. Does it affect? Does it sort of get drawn into your writing at all? Has there ever been anything that's happened at a LARP where you're like, I'm gonna do something with that. That's gonna be the next book or
Um,
something.
Probably. It's kind of hard to say. I mean, I think one of the things that they always say about LARPers who are also authors is that they write very vivid combat. Um, I don't actually write a lot of combat in my books, thinking about it. So, yeah, I'm gonna try and sort of make a concerted effort to write more combat orientated books. in future. Because there is combat, but it's not big drawn out battles. But they
Yeah.
do say that LARPers write big drawn out battles really well. I think probably the things that have bled over is I tend to play quite like nature driven characters, or characters who have sort of contested relationships with gods, and
Yeah.
I quite like that as a theme. So yeah, there's always kind of something about discomfort with the religious powers that be, or the uh, order of things and things like that. I never like a character who sits too comfortably in their society.
You just have to remember, if you're calling on your LARP experience to write your combats, to go back through and delete all the combat calls afterwards, because
Yeah,
nothing like. And then he double. No, wait, take that out. Take that out.
yeah. I mean, any system that has double can be taken right out anyway. Like, not one for battle warding.
Oh, we're going to get talking about Labby now, and that's going to be a real problem for everyone involved. So, the time has come for us to do away with our hypotheticals, I feel. Ben and I are being held hostage by a powerful and capricious bibliomancer, and this bibliomancer, he draws his energy from people's love of books. The only way to satisfy his demands is to get him book recommendations from talented writers like yourself. You could get us out of some torture here by answering one question. What novel is closest to your heart right now?
Gosh, closest to my heart. One that I always come back to is not actually fantasy, but it feels close enough to that I reread it and I devour it every time, is The Shadow of the Wind by Carlos Ruiz Zafón. It's set in the Spanish Civil War, and it's about this author who um, has written this book, but there are only called The Shadow of the Wind, but there's only very few copies left for some mysterious reason that nobody really knows. And the main character tries to find out why there's only so many copies left, and it evolves into this deliciously gothic mystery, and it feels so close to fantasy, but has like this just really lavish, like gothic kind of like ancient, sort of not ancient but historical, like Barcelonian setting. Is really
Yeah.
beautifully written as well.
That's given me a really similar vibe to The Princess Bride, in the way that it's, you can only buy the abridged version, and there was never a full version of it, and part of the mystery of the story is what happened to the rest of it.
Yeah,
So it sounds like I'd really enjoy it.
yeah, it's got such a lovely mix of characters as well. Yeah, some of my favorite characters and lines of all time are from that book. So yeah, I think you would. It's not, yeah, as I say, not fantasy, but really, really good book.
Sounds amazing. Do you sort of draw on that for inspiration at any point? I'm always interested where people get the sort of the flame for particular themes and approaches to storytelling and things like that. Does that sort of process work that way for you, or does it work a different way?
Um, there's so much, there's mystery in a lot of my books, because, and I think I said this in the previous interview, that I really like sort of magic systems and worlds that don't explain everything. And I like that kind of, you find out as you go along with the reader, with the character. And so yeah, if you have like, I'd say that's what I sort of put into these things that's come out of that book most, is that sort of sense of not knowing and finding out alongside the protagonist, which I prefer vastly to books where you kind of know everything and the magic system's pinned down and you know all the rules.
Need that the unknown needs to be a factor. Yeah,
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 yeah.
I like that. So tell us more about producing an album to go alongside your book. I don't know whether we've had an author on before who's done that. That's fascinating. What was that like?
It was a whirlwind of a day. So someone I know well from the Alternative Stories and Fake Realities podcast came to my house, and we sat in the dining room, created a recording studio, and then recorded all these songs. I had a bit of like an easier path into doing it because me and my husband sing a lot of songs at the LARP events that we were just talking about. So there was
Yeah.
a bunch of songs that I already had that I knew I wanted to use, that then some of them were in the book, the sort of folk songs were that I'd used in the book, because the way the main character uses the mist that I was talking about, she sings it back into charms and then enthralls people to her will using her songs. And so it just felt a really natural thing that I'd then do an album singing a bunch of those songs for the book, because I love companion albums to things. So yeah, it just felt like a really natural leap, to be honest.
Lovely. And so you mentioned that you'd sung some of them at LARP. That must have been quite an interesting process, I would have thought, to actually have sung them in large crowds of people who are in world, shall I say? Like,
Mm.
rather than, because you could have sort of busked on a street with them or something, couldn't you? But in this world, in the sort of world of the LARP, it becomes a bit different.
Yeah, I mean, there's quite a sort of vibrant bardic culture at LARP events
Yeah.
generally. So at the main system we play, we tend to sit around the campfire in the evening and everybody sings. Yeah, and it's just really nice. Like, we have quite a repertoire of songs that everybody knows as well. So it's become quite a sort of thing that's what we do on an evening. So yeah,
Do you,
it gets it is interesting for you.
I think it sounds A, interesting, and B, lovely. That's sort of sounds like how human society should be, rather
Mm.
than all of this shit he says whilst pointing around at the entirety of the world at the moment. Um, so I just want just one more question on this, because I'm finding this really interesting. Do you? I like folk music a lot. Do you have a favorite folk song?
Oh, that's a really hard one to pick.
I know.
Well, I really like "Stretched Out on Your Grave" by Kate. Well, Kate Rusby has done a adaptation of it. Can I pick two?
Yeah, please.
Yeah.
Okay, that's one of them. And I use that a lot. I rewrote it a bit. And I'm got the lyrics in my head, but I'm trying to remember the name. "Ride On" is one of my all-time favorites as well, which is on the album for Dissonance of Birdsong.
So I don't know either of those, but are they sort of tales? You know how sometimes most folk songs are the story of either a person or a situation. What kind of story are those two songs?
"Ride On" is not a ballad in the same way, in that you have a sort of character and a story that's telling like a whole arc of stuff in a very like descriptive narrative way, but it's this story of I think a cursed, in my head it's a cursed love, and she or he, it doesn't really matter because I've heard it sung by different sort of people, um is sort of saying, "I love you, but I can't go with you even if I wanted to," and singing about all the things that they love about the person, and then says, "But I couldn't go with you even if I wanted to." And it's just the juxtaposition of that is just very
Mm.
powerful and poignant. Um, the other one is very much about like it actually has like Christian links in the original one, but it's a very nature driven song about like the earth and the trees and the person's like religious perception of the trees and things, and how that is like a religious experience for them. um so yeah, that's sort of very much as you'll have got, like very much in vibe with the sort of folklore stuff that I love.
Mm.
Yeah.
No, I love it. I'll be checking those out.
For the listening lovelies, to remind them if they've forgotten from last episode, what's the album called and where can they hear it?
It's called Storm Tongue, and you can find it on Spotify, on Bandcamp, and any of the sort of usual streaming services. There's links to it on my website, alexandrabeaumontauthor.com.
Fantastic. Nico.
So, when you've got words down, what is your editing process?
So I will try and read through it and do a full sort of edit before I then do anything with it. I confess I am not the strongest editor. Like, I've made myself get better. It's not something I particularly enjoy doing. I will say at this point that my first book, which we haven't actually talked about, Testament of the Stars, which is a sort of Tudor astrology inspired fantasy set in a sort of second world fantasy, was the first thing I wrote, and that was after a long break of having not written. And my husband, who I'm very lucky is an editor, did a first look through that and a first look through Dissonance of Birdsong, doing basically what's called a development edit, which is a sort of detailed read through, checking all the story, does it make sense? Also looking at like he did also look at like the grammar and things like that, because I'm not as strong at doing that myself. But yeah, I'm very lucky to have a professional editor in house. um, he tells me I still need to pay him, which he's probably right.
Absolutely. Is your husband like a freelance editor that we can promote, or does he work for a company that we can promote?
Yeah, so he's a freelance editor. His editorial business, if you like, is called Paul Martin Editorial. You can find him on the, let's see if I get this right, and he can correct me afterwards because he's listening, the Chartered Institute of Editing for Editors and Proofreaders, Chartered Institute of Editors and Proofreaders, which is like a professional body for editorial peoples. So yeah,
Excellent.
he mostly does educational resources, but he's sort of strayed into the world of novels these days. So yeah, he's very much up for all things.
Fantastic. So, have you got like your next project, and can you talk about it at all?
Oh, that is a good question. So I've got a book coming out early next year. With my publisher is just pinning down the date. That's called The Astral Tide. It's a novella which is the sequel to Testament of the Stars, which I was just talking about. And I seem to be sort of falling into a pattern where I write in duologies. So the Testament of the Stars duology will complete with The Astral Tide. And then so that's all written. At the moment, I'm now kind of exploring what I'm going to do next. I'm writing short stories in the Mist Cycle world to explore different bits of the world and different styles of the magic system, kind of like you heard in the story that we recorded for last week. I'm playing with different ideas, and then I am going to settle down and write probably a Victorian Gothic novel, because my background, going back to what we were talking about ghosts, my academic, if you like, background is in ghosts and Victorian ghost lore.
So you've as in you have studied it academically as well?
Yeah, so not like a PhD or anything fancy,
Right.
but I like that was what I did my dissertation on, was like
Amazing.
at uni, was like Victorian Gothic horror and
That's
how
so
it
fun.
transposed into modern fantasy.
Really cool.
Yeah, that's really cool. So what was it like going back? Because you wrote Testament first, and then you wrote the Mist Cycle duology, and then you've
Yep.
gone back in your fourth book to complete the duology of your first book. What was that like? Because obviously there's a big headspace gap there, isn't there? Well, you've been completely in another world for 2 books,
Yeah,
and then to go back.
it was a really stupid way of doing it.
That's not what I'm saying. I think it sounds actually a really cool way to do it. But go on, you tell me of your experience.
Because writing is like not my full-time career. I write what I enjoy at the time, and so I wrote Testament of the Stars. I really enjoyed it. Happy days. And then I got the idea for Dissonance of Birdsong, so I wrote that because it was fun and it's what I wanted to do. And then my publisher was like, well, you should probably finish the series with Dissonance of Birdsong because that one's your most popular book so far. And so I did that. And then I thought, well, but I should probably finish the Testament of the Stars series too. So yeah, it was slightly sort of set by my publisher saying like finish the book series that's like, because Dissonance of Birdsong got quite a momentum. It
Yeah.
got a distinguished favourite accolade in like an independent press award this year and things like that. So they were very keen
Congratulations.
for me to finish that.
Yeah, big congratulations. That's very
Thank
cool.
you.
Did the world of the Testament of Stars, did that world change because of the things that you'd learnt on the intervening 2 books?
Oh, that's a really good question. Yeah, kind of. It changed how I wrote it. And this is sort of something I'm sort of tinkering with, really. Like Testament of the Stars was written in third person with multiple points of view characters. And then in Dissonance of Birdsong and Ballad of Riverbones, I wrote them in first person with single point of view characters, which enabled me to go really close into the characters and their sort of like lived and breathed experiences. And then I found that I really enjoyed doing that. So I then wrote, this is a slightly stupid way of doing it as well, but then I wrote the sequel to Testament of the Stars in first person as well, because I really enjoyed the sort of closeness that gave me to the character. And there was a very good narrative reason for why I did, which I will spoiler a lot
Yeah,
if
no, we
say
won't
why,
spoil it.
but there's a really good reason, and I love an unreliable narrator. Is all I'll say.
It sounds to me like you're just finding your voice with every step you take. I look forward to you realizing you want to write a third part to this and then writing 2 duologies in between and then coming back to it. I think that's going to be the masterpiece.
It's
I feel
it's grains of rice on a chessboard, that, isn't it? If you keep
Yeah.
doing duologies in between each duology.
I feel called out for the types of stupid ideas that I come up with.
Hey, this is straight from my noggin, so it's probably a bad idea. So that no one misses out on it and forgets from last week, like the naughty naughties they are, where can people find you online to keep up to date with all your stuff?
So my website is alexandrabeaumontauthor.com, and that's the best place to see other podcasts I've done. You can hear audio recordings of my work done by the Alternative Stories and Fake Realities podcast. And yeah, as I've said before, there's like my music album is on there, and the sample chapter from Dissonance of Birdsong can be found on there as well. I'm also on Instagram at a Beaumont writer. That's probably my most active social media. On the other places as well, with a very similar, if not the same, handle. But as you can tell, I'm usually giving out the Instagram one. And yeah, my link tree is on there as well, so you can find me on all the other socials that way, except Twitter, not that one.
Amazing. Thank you so much for your time with us, Alex. You've been absolutely brilliant.
It's been wonderful to talk to you both, and yeah, thank you for sharing your wonderful stories with me.
Thank you. I think we did really well not to talk about LARP for 4 hours with poor Ben having to listen to us.
What I will
Maybe
tell all the people listening is that they did talk about LARP for 4 hours, and we just
you
cut
just
it
cut
out.
it out.
Yeah.
I mean, I think you were very kind to say that we talked about it for 4 hours and not the accurate time of 8.
Yeah.
God, yeah, we started recording 3 days ago, didn't we?
I
Yeah, I
know.
fell asleep. I feel like I've been to sleep twice. Like, no, it's been delightful and actually really riveting. I've done a little bit of LARP myself, so I'm aware of it. I'm just not as into it as Nico is, but I find it fascinating when we get an author on that's into it, because it must be such a wealth.
It's great fun.
It's been lovely. I'm going to echo what Nico said and just say it's been absolutely delightful, and thank you again for your time. Amazing. Do you have any questions for us before we wrap up?
Are you going to come and play Men is Fate next year?
Ooh, if Nico can twist my arm enough, I'll join him.
I'll have a go.
It sounded cool, so yeah.
It's a proper good game.
And what was the one where people sort of like sit around and sing around campfires and stuff like that? Is
that's
LARP?
That's the yeah, it's LARP. It happens in most systems. That's the Lorien Trust. We play in a faction called the Bears faction, which is kind of loosely based on ancient Scotland. But yeah, if I was going to say, sorry, this is a bit of an addendum, and we're going back to another 8 hours of talking about LARP. But like, I'd say if you're not a regular LARPer and you want to try a really good system that will bring you into the like spirit and excitement of what the game can be, I would try Mena's Fate first, because it's really good for new players. It's still building out the experience, and so they're really good at like bringing people in, and their world building is like top notch. Every nation has such like vibrant atmosphere to them. So yeah, so I'm evangelizing for them, and they should probably pay me a commission.
Fantastic. Well, thank you everybody for listening, and join us again next week.
Fly.
Thanks for joining us for this episode of The Tiny Bookcase.
Remember to subscribe, otherwise you're going to miss out on the future fun.
Also, tell a friend. If you like this episode, link them to it.
We'd be tremendously grateful. You can follow us on Twitter at BookcaseTiny, Facebook at The Tiny Bookcase, and Instagram at BookcaseTiny for updates. Speaking of supporting the podcast, well, magic can only take one so far. The Tiny Bookcase is supported by the generosity of its patrons. Those kind souls have really kept my belly full the last year. Let's cast a spell for them, shall we? For rich ginger tones on their scalp, let us cast the Orangi Hedondo spell for Scott Byrne. And for general fabulousness, why not the Ooh La La, How's Your Mother spell on Matthew McLaren?
How do you come up with that shit, man?